Welcome to episode 27 of Finding Your Hidden Superpower, Autism, Aspergers, and those of us who are neurodiverse. Welcome. I want to talk about a article I'm reading. It's called The Annual Research Review, Shifting from Normal Science to Neurodiversity in Autism Science. So one of the problems with diagnosing autism and or Asperger's or becoming neurodiverse is that with the medical model, just like with all of the Western medical models, all they look at is what's wrong with you and why are you different? How can we fix you? So that's a problem because what I'm reading here is that a lot of the studies that are done on neurodiverse people is that they have different strengths and different weaknesses and challenges from people that are considered neurotypical. So people that are normal, quote unquote, have weaknesses, but they have different weaknesses and they have typical weaknesses, whereas people that are neurodiverse have different non-typical weaknesses, and so therefore they are considered broken, different, needing to be fixed, and something's wrong with them. And so that whole medical model does not really work because if autism is a personality disorder, there's not many things that we can do other than work on behavioral modifications. And a lot of the research is done on trying to find the genetic reasons, and a lot of parents feel guilty when their child is diagnosed with autism, or so the new paradigm, which is a new thought process, is being put forth by advocates for people who are autistic. And it's not just a political movement. Now, it can be seen as just a political movement, but it's not. What the new science is finding is that people are neurologically and biologically diverse. And one of the key things is that when they've done studies on autistic people, they're just doing studies on what's wrong with them compared to what's right with the majority of the rest of the people. And they discount a lot of the things that autistic people can be very good at. And also, once they learn how to do something, they are actually proven to be more accurate than in some circumstances than neurotypical people. So they actually have a lot more strengths, but they just have a harder time of initially learning how to use those strengths. But once they learn how to use those strengths, then boom, they're actually better. One of the, so the way children are diagnosed as autistic is that they have problems with a flat affect, so they don't express through body language the typical way, and they have deficits in picking up body language without having to, they actually have to learn body language, and instead of that just naturally coming and happening. So a lot of the diagnosis of autism, Asperger's, neurodiversity is through the exterior motions and behaviors caused by somebody who's going to become diagnosed as autistic, whereas it's all internal. It's an internal, externalized, and then that person is called autistic, and then it's disability. And the way the medical model looks at it is the disability is actually a bad thing, and the child, is pretty much, the medical model, the way it's set up, is it's not going to help the person in the best way that they can be helped. So there are many flaws in the medical model, and when they're dismissing all the strengths in this medical model, it causes a lot of problems. So, so the conclusion, I'll just dive into the conclusion. This is a long article. We are living through a movement of significant change in the way in which people think about autism. That change is reflected in advocacy, in the media and public debate, and arguments about the nature of autism science itself. It is also beginning to be reflected in academic discussions with a flurry of review papers, perspective pieces, and edited books published in the last 12 months alone. This is a major shift that has revealed fundamental problems in the conventional medical account and its inability to explain away what anomalies at its core and the possibilities of eminent possibilities in the neurodiversity paradigm. Some of the comments at the heart of autism science, as we've known it for decades, are beginning to wane. In this review, we have explained that while conventional medical paradigms have been a key tool in shaping autism science, it has nevertheless painted an excessively narrow, deficit-based review of autism and excluded the very people it is meant to serve from agenda setting in research. In so doing, it has placed too many limits on our knowledge of autism and how the knowledge is derived. This is no longer a tenable approach. We believe the neurodiversity paradigm presents a compelling alternative. It insists that we make a fundamental shift in our most basic assumptions about the nature of autism, broadening and altering our shared theoretical beliefs, values, and techniques. So the idea is that neurodiversity is on a continuum. So there are neurotypical people, and then there's people that diverge a little bit, in a spectrum. Like they started calling autism a spectrum disease. Well, the new paradigm that I'm pushing, and I think the rest of science should be pushing, is that there is a neurodiversity among all people. And because if somebody was neurotypical and they take the APS-PI test, they're also going to come up with some weaknesses within that test. And whereas the opposite could be true, whereas the neurodiverse person, those could be their strengths. And so, what's one strength is another person's weakness. And so, therefore, we have a lot of diversity within our thought processes and what makes us who we are. So, with that, so among all this uncertainty, they're going to start looking. We've established 3 key lessons from the neurodiversity paradigm as currently conceived, which will remain vital for the future of autism science. First, while the neurodiversity paradigm does not challenge the notion that autism is biological in nature, it stressed the need to view autistic people not as a collective of deficits needing to be fixed, but as a unique, worthwhile individuals whose lives have meaning and purpose. It also urges us to look beyond the individual, focusing on immediate, especially relational and systematic contexts in which the interaction between contextual and individual factors to address the negative and disabling effects of being autistic. Second, while autism science has a strong record of collaborative efforts between academics and including autistic researchers and lay members of the autistic community, in which collaboration is still a rare occurrence, this needs to change. So more people need to be involved. It can't just be top down that you got a problem and here we are to fix it. And we don't even know what your problems are, because autism isn't just one thing. Neurodiversity, some people have, that are considered autistic have different strengths, different weaknesses, different challenges from all the other autistic people. So that's why they started calling it a spectrum, but it's not really a spectrum, as if you went and took the AppSpy tests, they're looking at it more like it's a pie, and there's different deficits, different strengths within that pie. And so looking at that, we need to be more collaborative. The scientific academics need to be collaborative, figure out what needs to be actually studied, instead of looking at it at the problem as a deficit, looking at what are the strengths of autistic people. Do they have strengths? What are they? How do they manifest? How can they be helpful members of society? What are their strengths? What are their challenges? And how can we utilize their strengths, and how can we shore up their challenges? So we are at a turning point in the field of autism science. The conventional medical conceptualization has played a vital role in autism research and practice to date. Nonetheless, it is increasingly clear that if we wish to make progress for the benefit of the autistic and broader autism communities, it is necessary to reevaluate our fundamentals. This may well be costs to moving from normal to extraordinary science, as well as even more dramatic costs in seeing through the implications of this change. Taking neurodiversity seriously, in other words, would mean both changing the way in which we educate the next generation of autism scientists, and also demanding substantial real-world changes, overhauling the series of major institutions and practices so that they serve autistic people better. And none of this will be easy. Established conventions will remain established long after the original limitation has dropped away, precisely because agreeing to change, funding it, designing it, and implementing it is extraordinarily difficult. But crucially, the costs of not changing need to be weighed as well. If the experience of other segments of movements of social transformation in recent history teaches us anything, it is that previously inconceivable public policy shifts can occur when the demand is strong enough. So the bottom line is that what we're experiencing is just different challenges than the rest of the majority of the population. But as being lumped into these, autism, these baskets, each individual has different strengths and different weaknesses and different challenges. So I'm here to hopefully help people, and I'm going to be learning more and more about this, and I believe that I hopefully can help myself and help others, and so have a good day.